Hey guys, welcome to our reading lesson. Let's get started by reading our learning target. Remember, our learning target focuses our learning and tells us what we need to be able to do, okay? I can identify points the author writes in a text and describe how reasons support the points. So the first part of this learning target is I can identify points. What does that word identify mean? The word identify means to find. So I can find points that the author writes. Well, let's look at that word key points. Key points is the important idea about a topic that the author wants the reader to understand. So I can find the important idea that the author wants the reader to find in a text. And then I can describe how the reasons the author gives about these key points is supporting the key point, okay? So let's look at that word reasons. Reasons is an explanation for why it might be right or true, okay? So when we have a key point, remember that's the important idea that the author wants us to learn. And when the author gives reasons, it tells why that key point is true, okay? Now, those reasons support the key point. It helps to explain or provide evidence on why that key point is right or true, okay? All right, so what you're going to do, or what you've been doing this week, is we have been identifying key points in a text. We've been identifying reasons, and we've been talking about why those reasons support that main idea or that key point, okay? In order to be successful in this lesson today, you'll be able to identify the key points in a text, and you'll be able to identify reasons, okay? All right, let's go ahead and let's turn in our Ready Reading Journal to page 318. 318. The title of this text is Bugs, Nature's Time Machine. Now, you might have heard of a time machine before. What does a time machine do? A time machine can let you travel in the past or the future, right? So we are going to be looking at Bugs, Nature's Time Machine. Now, we know that there's not really such a thing as a time machine where you can get in it and go back to the past or go to the future. So we have to be thinking about how is this article going to let us see into the past or into the future, okay? Now, if you look around this text, you have some photographs of some live bugs, and then you have some captions. What do the captions do? Tells us more about the photographs, right? So don't forget to read your captions. You also have captions over on the next page, page 319. So don't forget to look at those photographs and then read the caption at the bottom also. All right, so this first time through, what you're going to do is you are reading just to understand what it is that the author is telling you, okay? You're just reading to understand what this text is all about. All right, go ahead. You can read this to yourself. You can read it to someone. You can read it with a stuffed animal, however you would like to read it. Go ahead and begin reading. When you're done, you may unpause the video and return. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to reread this together, okay? Now, before we reread it, I want to ask you some questions about this text to see what your understanding was. Have cockroaches or dragonflies changed more over time? Have cockroaches or dragonflies changed more over time? All right, so we know that dragonflies have changed the most over time. It says that dragonflies a long time ago were much larger. So today they are smaller. It even says here, insects are mostly smaller than they once were. So the dragonfly has changed over time. All right, and then we just talked about how they've changed over time. We know that they are much smaller now than they used to be, okay? Do you have any questions about this text? What are some questions that you have? Okay, I want you to be thinking about those questions as we go through this text and see if we can answer them. As we're reading, remember we're thinking about the key point. What is that important idea that the author wants us to learn, and what are the reasons that the author gives, okay? All right, go ahead and take your helper finger and put it on paragraph number 1. You're going to read with me. Ready? Read. Have you ever wondered what insects looked like millions of years ago? They probably looked nothing like insects do today, right? Not so fast. Insects long ago looked a lot like insects today. One kind of bug, the cockroach, has hardly changed at all. It still has a flat body and legs built for running. It still eats many different things, both living and dead. Cockroaches are built in a way that works well for them. In fact, cockroaches might stay the way that they are for many more millions of years. All right, so I want you to think, what is the key point that the author is trying to make in this passage so far? All right, what are we talking about? What are the things that have been mentioned so far? It's been mentioned about how insects have not changed, or how they look a lot like they did in the past. All right, let's keep going with paragraph number 3. Ready? Read. Other insects have changed a lot in some ways and not so much in others. Prehistoric dragonflies looked much like they do today. They had long, thin bodies and 2 sets of wide wings. But there was one big difference. Dragonflies long ago were much larger. They had wingspans of up to 2 feet long. This means that a dragonfly could be as big as a dog. They could cause problems for people today. We are lucky that today's insects are mostly smaller than they once were. All right, we're on paragraph number 5. Scientists think that many insects have not changed much because they haven't needed to. They were still able to find food and shelter as the world changed, so they didn't need to change themselves. The next time you see an insect squirming in a garden, don't say, "Ooh." Instead, look at it closely. You might just be looking into the far-off past, okay? All right, now we need to read the captions on both pages. The caption on 318 says, "Cockroaches have changed very little over time." And then the caption on page 319 says, "Long ago, dragonflies had wingspans about as long as your arms." Okay? All right, so I want you to think about that key point that the author is trying to make. What was the main idea of this whole text? Okay, I want you to think about that. The author wanted us to learn about insects. What about insects did the author want us to learn? Okay, can you find reasons to support that idea? I want you to go through and I want you to look for a couple of reasons for reasons that will support or tell more about why the author wanted us to learn about that key point that insects haven't changed much over time. So find some reasons that support that idea, okay? All right, guys, so as you have finished up with the reading, you are welcome to go back and reread if you need to, but you will need to go ahead and answer the questions on the next couple of pages about the article that you've read, okay? All right, bye, guys.